well be asking what that has got to do with golf. Well, it's got a lot to do with golf. Some of the physics and the forces that we're using in golf are no different to what's happening there in the aeroplane. And that's going to help you to better understand the move. If you don't know what the move is, then I'll leave a link up here to the last video which explains to you what I'm wanting you to do during your golf swing to get a more effective transition going on. As ever, like the video if it helps you, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that little bell because that'll tell you whenever I post new things. There's a lot of new drills coming up which will help you to actually get a feeling for this movement and to integrate it seamlessly into your golf swing. I'll be back in just a moment with a little bit more about what we're talking about today. The idea of the parabolic flight is to induce weightlessness in the cabin so that astronauts can get used to the feeling of weightlessness before they go into space. What that's got to do with a golf swing is what we were talking about last time in the move, getting this feeling at the top of your swing for almost weightlessness. Now the question is, why do we need that? Well, if you look at a lot of amateur golfers' swings, what you'll see is at the end of the backswing, they actually stand up and then attack the golf ball. And this is when a lot of their problems are being produced. Even if they've got a very good backswing, they can still hit the ball from 15 degrees from out to in, simply because of this. By standing up, they're actually using ground forces. They're pressing against the ground to stand up. So if they aren't able to press against the ground to stand up, they won't be able to hit down on the golf ball. And that's the idea of the move, this transition phase of weightlessness. So let's go back to the analogy with the parabolic flight. How do they achieve weightlessness? Well, what they actually do is they fly the aeroplane almost into a vertical flight. And when they get to the required height, the pilots cut the thrust. So there's no more thrust actually driving the plane up. Now, that doesn't mean that the plane stops moving up. Despite them actually tipping the nose down, the plane will carry on moving up. And if you're in the cabin then, you'll experience a feeling of weightlessness, not only a feeling, but an actual weightlessness, and they'll start flying around the cockpit. The plane will then reach its peak in flight and start descending. And for a certain amount of time, depending on the quality of the plane, I suppose they can let that happen. But it's probably not more than maybe 15-20 seconds before they've got to apply thrust again to break their fall and maybe go up for another try. And that's when the people in the cabin come down with a bump, as gravity is reapplied, and in fact they'll actually experience up to 2G when they're actually making the turn. Now that is extremely significant because that's very similar to the kind of forces that you're actually applying against the ground as you try to hit a golf ball, or obviously when you hit a golf ball. If we try and use this analogy in the golf swing, what we're actually talking about is that the club gets almost to the top of its swing, and then you take away the pressure from under your feet. And by doing that, you're basically reducing thrust. By reducing the thrust, you dip in your knees and your hips, and so you also have a feeling in your body of falling, and this will immediately impart an almost weightless feeling in your arms. Now your arms will continue up a little way because of the inertia that they had created in the backswing, but they will then, due to the rotation of the body back to its middle and the transition back to the center, they'll then be stopped and they will start down. Now we're talking about fractions of a second here, so you'll basically dip and stop. And when you stop, it's similar to the aeroplane being given thrust again, and the force is virtually working again on the cabin, making people come down with a bump. So you've got a feeling of basically a bump landing, which will accelerate the arms down. Now you can obviously help them down as well, but in this case, normally it's not necessary to start off with. And as you land, the arms will kind of bump down. You'll get them back opposite the trail thigh, and then you turn through the golf ball as always. And the big secret really of this game is kind of timing this move to happen just before the end of your backswing and to realize this bump feeling just after the the club has changed direction, and in a full swing, probably when your lead arm is somewhere around about kind of parallel with the ground. But this is something that you can use for all shots. I wouldn't say that you don't need this in a chip or a pitch. And in that case, you would almost be kind of going into a little bump before you've got to the end of your backswing, and then again applying pressure to the ground and turning through the golf ball. Now, you will find also that this will actually send a kind of a, not shockwave, it's a very nice kind of swing feeling through your body as you learn to use these ground forces, and as you learn to actually feel this kind of lightening at the top of the swing and then getting heavy through impact and around into the green. And that's exactly the same kind of thing that the people in the cabin in the Parabolic Flight are getting. First of all, they're on the cabin floor, then the plane starts to reduce thrust, they fly up into the air, then it starts to increase thrust again, they come down with the bump, and that's basically when we're turning through and hitting the golf ball. So altogether, when you start your backswing, you're going to start as usual, turning, lifting, you're applying thrust from the ground up through your body so that you can move the different parts of your body and get the golf club moving up. When you get almost to the top of your swing, wherever that may be, you want to be dipping in your knees, the feeling of giving way, of going into a very short free fall with your body and keeping your arms passive, and that will then actually allow you to kind of change directions, or cause a slight flattening of the shaft, and then you will have this kind of bump landing. When you bump, you turn. And that's basically what we'll be talking about in the next video, is a little kind of drill that you can do to kind of get the feeling of this kind of landing again and then going into the turn through the golf ball. And if you can use this kind of bump and turn feeling, you'll actually be able to hit the golf ball a lot more correctly. Oh dear me, my brain has gone into one of those. You'll be able to get a better strike on the golf ball, you'll be able to time and coordinate your golf swing a lot better, and you'll have this wonderful kind of flowing feeling going through your body. It's almost a bit like a kind of a seesaw effect or a child's swing as he kind of takes it back and allows his body to kind of move. We're not doing as much kind of sideways movements, we're doing a very slight kind of up and down. So I hope that's going to help you. If it does, as ever, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do that. Hit the little bell if you want to get notifications about the next video. I'm going to leave my revised version of the philosophy up here. If you want to download that, give that a click. And I'll be back very shortly with a video showing you the drills that you've got to do to make this work in your golf swing.